Here we have a geometry problem. In the figure above, find the values of A and B. So in the given figure, we have to find the value of A and B over here. Okay, now when I look at the figure, I can see the three markings on the three lines over here. So what do these three markings indicate? The three markings I have circled indicate the three lines, this one, and this one. These three lines are parallel. And also here we can consider the angle measured 246 degree. Okay, if I complete this part, I am getting a circle. That is, it's an angle of full rotation. Already we know that the measure of angle of full rotation is 360 degree. So in the full rotation angle, if this particular part is 246, then what is the measure of the part which I marked over here? So to know the measure of the angle over here, what I need to do is I have to subtract this 246 degree from the angle of full rotation 360 degree. Okay, let me do it. So now I am subtracting 246 degree from 360 degree. When I do so, I am getting 140 degree. So the measure of the angle over here is 114 degree. Okay, now already we have discussed that is these two lines are parallel because we have markings over here. And the two parallel lines over here intersected by another line, this is called transversal. So whenever two parallel lines intersected by the third line, it's called transversal, and the angle measure over here are called consecutive interior angles. Okay, and also when two parallel lines intersected by a transversal, the consecutive interior angles will always be supplementary. Supplementary means these two consecutive interior angles will add up to 180 degree. Okay, now let me do it. So I'm going to add 3a positive 12 positive 114. So these two angles must add up to 180. Okay, now let's solve for A in this equation. 3a positive. So when I add 12 and 114, I'm getting 126 equals to 180. Okay, now to solve for A, I have to isolate A. So first, let me get rid of this positive 126. For that, I subtract 126 from both sides. When I do so, this positive 126, negative 126 will cancel out. I'm getting 3a equals to, when I subtract 126 from 180, I'm getting 54. Okay, now let's divide both sides by 3. When I do so, this 3 will cancel out. A equals to, when I divide 54 by 3, I'm getting 18. So I have solved for A. The value of A is 18. Okay, again we can consider the two parallel lines over here, and already we know that this line is transversal because it intersects the two parallel lines over here. So whenever two parallel lines intersected by the transversal, alternate interior angles are congruent. That means they must be equal in measure. So the angle measure we have over here, the angle measure we have over here are called alternate interior angles, and they must be congruent. That means they must be equal in measure. Since this angle measure is 140 degree and this angle measure also must be 140 degree because alternate interior angles are congruent when two parallel lines are intersected by the transversal. Okay, now let's consider these two parallel lines, this one and this one. These two are parallel lines, and what is this one called? It's transversal. So because the two parallel lines intersected by this line, it's called transversal. So whenever two parallel lines intersected by the transversal, the corresponding angles must be congruent. That means they must be equal. So the angle measure over here and the angle measure over here are corresponding angles, and they must be congruent. That means they must be equal. So that means the angle measure, I mean the 4b and 114 must be equal because they are corresponding angles. Let me equate them. So 4b equals to 114. So to solve for b, I have to divide both sides by 4. When I do so, this 4 will cancel out. Then b equals to, when I divide 114 by 4, I am getting 28.5. I have solved for b. The value of b is 28.5.